Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Anxious Conversations. We finally have gotten a guest on. My mom is here, and we're just going to talk about everything from my childhood, what she did to help me, what she saw changing, some maybe things she went through that may have affected things that I went through, all types of stuff like that. Just kind of trying to give a better understanding of me, so you'll know in the future when I'm talking to other people, kind of my own story, and while we're learning other people's stories as well. Uh, so, I guess to get started, the first question I guess I've brought up to the viewers the most is, when did you first start notice uh, change in me mentally from being happy and stuff all the time to being more sad?
When your brother was born. No. Um, I would think probably middle school.
That's around when I always look back to as well, like sixth grade, somewhere in there. I don't know what I think I started to see changes in my anxiety before then, when I switched schools and stuff especially. But I think the depression I do look like sixth, seventh grade when I try to look back and see it. Do you know about? Did you notice any changes with my anxiety and stuff at any time besides just depression?
You, I'm not sure if it was anxiety or maybe it was anxiety and you weren't aware of it. But yeah, you seem to be, you didn't have any patience.
I think a lot. I still don't have patience, and that is due to my anxiety. I believe it feels like it a lot of times. So,
You have a lot more now than what you did when you were a child, I think.
you can ask anybody in my chat. I'm very impatient. I get very frustrated very quickly about things taking longer than I feel like they should.
Yeah, but I raised you.
Okay.
So
Um.
you're more patient with me now.
Well, that's just because I'm more used to you being the way you are, and I know there's how it's gonna be already. There's not much I can do about it.
Yeah.
When was that? Did you think? Because I know, and was I in first grade or second grade when I was the stuff with my attention issues and
Well, we went into that a little bit in kindergarten on into first and second grade, and then it was like
because I know I got tested and then didn't want to take the medication or whatever. And
you didn't find nobody found the need for you to take medication.
wasn't the it? Didn't they say that I had attention something with it, and then if I got and then I didn't want to take it, and you were if your grades improved, then you won't have to take it.
They they thought you possibly did. They
Yeah.
thought you were on the border, and then once we kept following up, I kept following up with teachers and counselors and everybody, and they said the grades, everything had improved, everything that you've got it, that you didn't
Hmm.
need any medication.
Looking back, I kind of wish that I don't know. I wish because I do feel like I have issues. Attention issues is one of my biggest reasons why I feel like I underachieve currently still in school. It's just hard for me to pay attention for a long time.
You
So
said you underachieve.
yeah, I underachieve what I think I should. Yeah, I get awards for getting the grades that I get at school, but I don't do as well as I feel like I can do. And I feel like a big reason is because it's hard for me to pay attention for
I
long
think
periods of
everybody
times.
feels that way, though. They feel like they wish they could do more, do
I
better.
don't wish that I know. It's the fact that like if I get a like I got two B's last semester that I know I would have got A's in. And yeah, I know, but it's not. And it's also even with classes I got A's in, I felt like I did worse than I am capable of doing. I don't feel like I did it to my best ability because I know I'm capable of doing better. And at that school, I don't. Yeah, I got an A in the class. I think if I was going to a bigger or better school, that A may have been a B or even a C. And
Oh.
I just feel like there's a difference between and I know like I'm not always going to live up to my capabilities, but I feel like in school, I've always done less than what I'm capable of doing. Especially if you look back at
Well,
like high school and even in language school, like I was bottom of my class of the people who made it through. I was barely skimming by. Well, to be fair, 50% of people got kicked out, but out of the people who made it through, I was so but I don't feel like that's where I would be if I did perform to my best in any situation like that.
I kind of felt like when you were in school, like middle school and high school, you didn't have your priorities in order. So
Well,
it just
I've talked to people about it since that I went to school with people that I wasn't friends with then, and I've only talked to a few times as an adult. But like I would do things to try to. I don't know if my feelings of being alone, which I have strongly now, were a thing back then, or I was scared of not fitting in or what. But I did do a lot to make sure I could have friends and maintain social relationships, and I put that as a priority over my schoolwork a lot of times. But
yeah.
even outside of that, I did struggle to pay attention, and even in classes, it was hard for me to even stay awake and like just focusing on stuff
Well,
was.
I never felt like they challenged you enough in school.
Um, I don't know. I don't feel like I still don't think even a challenge wasn't would have been enough to focus me. Something that interests me obviously will focus me.
Yeah.
I still find it hard to focus on doing things that I do enjoy, though, like stuff with YouTube, with editing, or making thumbnails. I really enjoy doing the artsy stuff too, and coming up with ideas and building on that. I enjoy a lot of that, and I still find it hard to sit down and do it for an extended period of time without getting distracted by something that's going on. So that's always a struggle. And but yeah, so we had that going on. Then I like I said, I feel like the change of schools, and I look back on uh friends that I had and the way some people started treating me and when we changed schools and stuff, and I could start to see my anxiety, my social anxiety especially was really bad, and there's stuff that I can still remember sometimes stuff that I said in third grade that embarrassed me. And
What do you mean changing schools from
I don't
some?
think it was the change. Well, maybe it was having to. Maybe it was the social anxiety kicking in that I had to make brand new friends, not people that I grew up with. Going from Saunders to Yates, going from one of. So I had to meet all new people, make all new friends, and because I still, like I said, there's still moments I look back on after changing schools that it's like really stressful for me, that embarrassed me, that I still think about to this day from third grade.
Well, you remember Christopher and Edward, right?
Yeah,
What were their last names?
I don't remember.
I can never remember. Um, but yeah, they were moving away,
Yeah,
and then
but I had friends at school and stuff, and I don't know if I had social anxiety already. I'm guessing I had social anxiety, and all I did was bring it out because it was the first time I was being put into a situation where I truly had to.
I think
I
a
was on my
little
own.
spark in things was that the bully across the street.
Yeah, and then I had some bullies. Weirdly, I ended up becoming friends with and talked to. It was three people in elementary school, and I actually became friends with them and even talked to them some as in adult life. But I think that messed with me some, and then the other stuff that happened around that time may have caused anxiety issues, or anxiety may have led to those things happening. But I do notice prior to third grade, I don't really look at back on anything. I remember stuff, but I don't look up back on anything with like embarrassment. But there's stuff starting in third grade that I look back on with embarrassment.
You were embarrassed of me playing catch with you in the front yard.
And I don't remember stuff like that. I mean like saying something really stupid to somebody that I wanted to be friends with or something, or a girl that I found attractive and saying something really dumb to her or something like that. I remember stuff from third grade like that. Just being stressful about having to make new friends then and everything. I think really thinking. Did you notice anything around that time?
From going from
Mhm.
Saunders to Yates? No. I didn't then, no.
Well, that's mainly my anxiety, my social anxiety. It'd be hard for you, I think, to see my social anxiety at that age.
Plus, as a parent looking at these things, we're trying to when you're young like that, we're just trying to guide you and get you in a good situation, get you around good people. That's one reason why we did move,
Yeah.
is to try to get you in a good group of friends. So it's like, I knew when I didn't have any control over it anymore, at least hopefully I think I would have had your grounding set.
Yeah.
So you did choose good friends. You didn't grow up to be the drug addict that was down the street or anything. You
Yeah.
did good.
Well, I think no matter where I was, I think I was too scared to get involved with those people. Anyways, to whenever I was in a situation, even with friends I had, I would just if situation was slightly uncomfortable for me, I'd leave because my anxiety would be so high. I'd be like, I'm too nervous to be here, too nervous to do this thing.
Well, you weren't too nervous to throw some parties at the house.
Yeah, but that was not the same as being somewhere with somebody doing drugs or something.
Nobody was going to do drugs at my house.
But I wasn't going to. I mean, I went to a party one time. I had Nikki dropped me off, and then I walked in and they were doing drugs, and I immediately walked out, called her. She came back and picked me up. I was like, yeah, no. And we just went and hung out at her house instead. So it was like I'm and there's always like even when I was with people who were doing stuff, I could never, not even just drugs, just anything that was like slightly illegal or felt slightly wrong to me, couldn't be involved in it because I'd always be like way too nervous to do it, which is not a bad thing, but it's also was my anxiety coming to the light. But I'd also have really bad fear of missing out, so I'd always try to force. I'd always end up going with people for certain things before like I got too uncomfortable to have to leave because I didn't want to miss out on anything, which I still have an issue with. I've gotten better with that though over the past couple of years.
Not much out there to miss out on.
There's stuff that I don't know. I always hated when people would like when people would go do something and I wasn't able to make it, and then I hear all the stories and it's like that sucks. So I wasn't there. But
I get that.
so yeah, I figured middle school was. What signs did you see for depression? Like to notice in middle school, you said.
The biggest thing I think I saw, and I'm not sure if it was middle school, but I remember you being very edgy, and of course, no one wants to be grounded or have the consequences of the situation. But whenever you were faced with those things, you would get really angry and punch a metal door or things like that.
I broke my hand punching a tree. So.
And yeah. And I remember as a parent trying to get you to find your passion, trying to get you to, and I guess maybe that's the other side of what you were going through, because I was trying to get you to find something to live for, find something that gave you your drive and your want to. To the point where you didn't have a phone, you didn't have a computer, you didn't have a TV.
I think.
And you had to make your own chicken nuggets.
I think the reason, like I was just talking about, that fear of missing out and scared of being alone and wanting to be. So when you were taking away my force of communication, I was scared that I was losing the thing that I was trying my hardest to grab onto, you know? Because even now, with not having many people to hang out with and many friends, and I'm more selective and about things I do, and I'm like, I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm uncomfortable. I'm not going to go out to clubs because I don't really enjoy them, but I still try to put myself in. I still want to be a part of stuff and communicate with people, and I think that was always a thing. And I don't know where it started, where I was so scared of missing out and so scared of being alone and so scared of not having friends, but it's something that I do know is the reason I made a lot of decisions I did in high school, and a lot of things that I've done as an adult was just out of fear of that.
Well, yes, but you also came up during a time when, yes, cell phones were new to people. You know, no generation before you grew up with a cell phone
Yeah.
or all those different ways to communicate with people, which turns out to creating more introverts
Yeah.
and more anxiety and more depression.
Um,
And the fact of, you know, what was it, MySpace when you were younger and Facebook and all that stuff. And part, I think, that is weighed on your generation and younger is, yes, you look on Facebook or whatever, Twitter or Snapchat or and say, oh, look where they are, look what they're doing. And you think everything's all great and good and you have envy about those things. And
it's,
it,
it's part of
it
the reason I
doesn't,
don't.
it looks like something way more than what it is.
It's part of the reason I don't use any of those things anymore. I have Twitter, and I have Twitter for YouTube. I don't have. I have two people that I know personally on Twitter, and that's it. Like I don't use that for look. I use that
Oh,
for my
maybe
YouTube and to
I'll
keep
have
it,
that up.
and I use it to keep in contact with online friends and stuff, but not.
I mean, they kicked Trump off Twitter now, right? I don't know.
But well, no, he's on Twitter.
He is still on Twitter? Okay.
But yeah. So I think, like I said, losing communication and stuff was always hard on me because I was always scared of losing that communication with that person or that person would forget me. That's something I've always thought, like, always like sticks with me too. Whenever I see somebody that I've known in the past, if they don't remember me, it always like hits hard, and it's always something I'm worried about. Is just people forgetting who I am and stuff. Weirdly, it shouldn't be something that affected me. It doesn't anymore. I don't care anymore. But at the time, not being in my senior year yearbook really messed me up. Just I had so much fear that people weren't going to remember me, and I wasn't going to be in the yearbook for them to remember me. And I
Why
was just
weren't
going to
you in the
disappear.
yearbook? I don't remember.
I was sick the first day we were supposed to get pictures, and then something happened with the paperwork with the ones we did in school that they were supposed to. What really sucks is we missed out on these people, and I wasn't even in that section. They had like names listed of people they didn't have pictures of, and I wasn't even in there. I'm in there and had different things though. I was in there for the rugby picture, the chess club picture.
Yeah,
I was for some reason, I had like 3 or 4 people come to me to interview me. So I have some like weird interview questions in like the top and bottom of pages and stuff. But
Oh.
I don't know. It bothered me at the time. It doesn't affect me anymore because
Yeah, there's so many things when you're younger that we find to be important and we're just going to die if they don't speak to you or
I don't. I even still though. I don't know. Maybe I'm scared of not being remembered and scared of just because I don't know if it's having a feeling of so many people just leaving in my life and forgetting about me from starting from my dad and up through everybody else to more recently.
AJ.
He didn't really leave though, but I think that might have always stemmed that fear of being forgotten and being left. And
There's a lot of things that you don't remember about him.
I remembered that towards the end he really tried. And
Yeah, once you and Austin became actual real people to him, and I say that because back to where I was talking about where parents are, you know, when you're younger and you're trying to guide them in the right direction, have good people around you and everything. There's also things that happen to you when you're younger that you don't remember.
yeah, no. and things that affect you that
That-
you don't.
Yeah, that will.
Yeah.
It's like with me, for example. Just we haven't dug in far enough into what about the baby that was born right after a car crash, for example. Everything's fine, everything's fine. But what trauma did that cause to the child? What did that? And there's so many different things, and
I think as a society, we're still not to where I haven't talked to people in chat and stuff. We're still not to where it's fully accepted that most people struggle with some sort of mental illness and it is an illness. And I think a lot of people don't see it that way and don't try to get the help that they need. So there's not enough research being done on it. And I think
it's
the further we're going through time, more people like me are going to be coming up and wanting to help and stuff. And somebody that also went through everything and is struggling, we're going to get more people like that actually doing all the science behind it and being able to experiment and having the knowledge of, having more knowledge about how they're feeling because they're feeling it themselves, things that they went through that might have caused it, and be able to experiment it better now that it's more accepted and people are more knowledgeable about it.
I wouldn't say accepted.
There's more.
We shouldn't
No, I don't mean no acceptance of people who struggle.
being
There's
aware of it, yeah. But I mean, yeah, we want to.
being accepting of people who struggle and not putting them down or blaming them for it is something that is really huge. And when you know somebody has a mental health issue and you're putting them down because of, like, with my anxiety, sometimes like I'll be scared to talk to somebody, and if somebody like comes back at me truly mad that I'm not talking to them, knowing that how that it's not like a cognitive decision for me to be like, oh, I want to ignore this person. It's just how my brain operates and is wired at times, and it doesn't mean I don't care to reach out to the person or anything. It's just I'll be like, I don't know exactly what to send. Oh, has it been too long? I shouldn't message this person now because they're gonna be upset that it's been so long since I messaged them and stuff like that.
I've been there.
And then if there's still not, there's still plenty of people out there who, and I'm not saying that you have to be just okay with somebody doing, like, just, you can't always use it as an excuse or whatever, but I'm saying there's still not a lot of understanding and acceptance amongst people.
And that phase of life to me, because we all go through that too. It's like at a certain point in life, you figure out what is the best thing for me to do in this situation. What do I need? You're empathetic, for one, very much so. But at a certain point in life, you're going to turn around, hopefully, and put yourself first.
That's my goal for this year.
That put yourself first and know you do with the right thing and do what's right for you, not worrying about what anybody else thinks or anybody else says or it's
I think something I still
standing up for you. And
even with how open and honest I am about everything that I go through and stuff, I'm still scared to sometimes to reach out and tell somebody like, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I could really use somebody to talk to, because I don't want somebody to feel forced into, or to feel like I'm using that as a mechanism to get somebody to hang out with me or something. I don't want to, and it's that feeling like I don't want to be like, hey, I'm having really negative thoughts right now. I could use your help. But I don't want anybody to be like, oh, I don't want people, and I know my friends probably wouldn't think that way, but it's still thoughts that run through my mind. It's like, I don't want them to think that I'm using this to force them to come be here for me or something.
especially if you end up having that friend that's about the only time you talk with them,
Mm.
because I know some people like that too. And I know I have issues with anxiety and depression
Mm.
and PTSD. What do you call it?
PTSD.
Yeah, that
Well,
Yeah.
it's not even called that anymore. It's PTS.
Post traumatic what?
Uh, it's just uh, it's post traumatic stress.
So it's not a disorder
Yeah,
anymore.
because it's
So many people have that.
yeah, and it's so much more research is done on it, and it's more understood now that it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, it's something that you can work through and get help with. You can talk to people with and get treatments for, and two, it's usually led back to you can find the specific events where it happens now, and most people can understand that because there's a long time where it's hard to differentiate, and a lot of time for a long time it was tied to only war, but now there's more understanding that there's so much more that causes it.
Well, I understand why it would be related to war
I mean, for me,
because that is the most apparent aware thing. But I mean,
now
a car accident can give somebody.
yeah, I think now sexual trauma has led to being like the number one cause of PTS over war.
Okay.
It might be. It might not be the number one, but I know it's up there now. It's finally for a long time that wasn't something people were really looking into. Though, I mean, when I tell people I'm retired for that, they kind of assume it was because of war, but never went to war or anything. Luckily,
You were in the military, which
Yeah.
is
I don't think it caused it. It might have exacerbated stuff that was already there, but which it did. It definitely worsened or brought to light things that I was already struggling through. As you said, we noticed things so much younger, but it's also nice though that it did that because it did that while I was under a structure and I had a support system built in, and I was forced to go see medical help and stuff. And I had people there to talk to me. A lot of people that were going through the same thing as me, and I think if it wasn't for the army, even making it worse at the time, I don't know if I would have even realized by now everything that I was going through and what the cause of it was and everything. So
yes, and I think they did make it worse.
I think it but I don't think they make. I think it would have still gotten that bad. It just would have taken longer.
Well, fortunately, no one ever know.
And I don't. If it would have taken longer, I wouldn't have known, and I wouldn't have been able to start working on myself at a younger age rather than waiting until my like now in my 30s and stuff to start working on myself. So at least that's how I look at it. I was like, yeah, it might have made things worse, but at least it made it worse in a situation where I think I would have ended up anyway because things kept getting worse beforehand. Over time, it was getting worse anyway. It just sped it up to a point where I needed to get help, and I finally started to realize I had issues. And while I had that structure around me to help me get through it,
Yes. Do you think your brother had anything to do with?
I don't think so.
You think he was a help?
Probably because a lot of times I think the big issue with stuff from last year and everything was I've not really had many friends that like the same things I do. Like none of my friends I have anything in common with. We don't like doing the same stuff. We don't like watching the same stuff. So Austin always enjoyed a lot of the same stuff I do. So it always helped to have somebody to be able to enjoy stuff with because I don't like enjoying stuff on my own. Like
Right.
going to conventions or watching sci-fi or going to see a musical or whatever. I don't have people to do that stuff with to enjoy it with. And while I can do it on my own, it's not as enjoyable for me to do something on my own. Because I know a lot of people can just travel on their own and go have fun somewhere. I don't get as much enjoyment. I can't get my full amount of enjoyment by myself as I would with
Oh,
somebody
I'm
else.
like that too, especially with traveling. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that by myself.
And I realize it's not that it's not. Well, I do have the anxiety of traveling alone and being in crowds alone and being in strange places alone, but there's also the fact that I just don't enjoy it as much by myself. Luckily, the last convention I went to, I mean, I walked in and I didn't have to message anybody or stuff. I just walked in, saw people I knew, and had fun, and got to hang out with people and enjoy the time with them there. So I got to enjoy it with other people, and that did mean a lot. Because I guess while I love all my friends and stuff, none of them have anything in common with me, and we'll always like talk about doing stuff together. But it's like we're never on the same page with what we really want to do. It's like when we went to Vegas. I wanted to go like see some of the iconic places and like go do some fun stuff, check out the zip line, all that stuff, and
Mhm.
everybody else wanted to go to the clubs and go drink a bunch and gamble. I was like, that's not what I want to do. And I was like, we did do some of the stuff I wanted to, but obviously it was Josh's day. Josh is becoming more of a like sit down restaurant, nice dinner type person now too to do stuff with, but I don't know. It's always been I've always been the one that nobody else wants to do the same things with me because I think a big part is for some reason uh everybody around me is very extroverted and I'm a huge introvert. So those people like bigger, more bombastic social situations while I'd rather just hang out with a couple of people and play a board game. They want to go be in bigger crowds and stuff. Because if you look at everybody I know, they're all very extroverted people, like extremely extroverted people.
See, that's, but if you get in a big crowd, you're lucky if you can communicate with the one person you might be with
Yeah.
to have any kind of a relationship or
Yes. And plus,
connections going on at that particular time. But like you said, sitting down at a group of a table and playing a game with 8 or 10 people or something, you're going to be much more sociable and much more connected. Anybody would be.
But it's also the fact of when I sit down and talk with people, I want to talk about, Star Trek,
Politics.
Star Trek, or Lord of the Rings, or what have you, and then nobody else really will talk about online gossip or something. It's like
Yeah.
I don't really care about that. And while I follow sports, it's like I don't want to just sit down and talk about sports for hours. It's not that imprinted on me as like for what I want to do and stuff. I want to play video games with people, but there's nobody who enjoys doing that type of stuff with me. Like everybody wants to play like it's Madden together. And like I don't want to play Madden. I want to play like something with more of a story or something to it. Something with like a survival aspect or something. And it's like I don't have people to do that with, or
Madden's still out there.
Yeah. But so I think Austin did provide, and he still does, somebody that I can talk to about that stuff and like enjoys a lot of that same stuff as me, and somebody that watches sci-fi and anime and fantasy and like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And the worst part is people who enjoy that stuff tend to also be introverted and are very hard to come to meet. I've met a lot of people online, but it's also different being online as to being able to spend time with the people in person. That's why I want to travel and go see a lot of people and hang out with people I've met online because I feel like I need that
Plus, I
interaction.
assume you already have a relationship with them and you feel safe.
Yeah, but that's the big thing about that's why I feel like in 2021, 2022, I do feel like I was a lot happier because I was finally doing things that I enjoy with somebody else who was also enjoying those things. And I feel like, at least now I know that. Before, there was so many other reasons I looked at to being, or so many other things I looked at that I felt would make me happy and make me enjoy life. But then I realized, like, I don't specifically need a relationship to be happy. I think I could be happy just going in and doing the things I enjoy with other people who enjoy those things. You know what I mean?
Right. And that in itself would be relationships.
Yes,
It's
but
just
I meant like a
partner.
romantic relationship. I used to think heavily that I really needed it, and I don't feel like I need that as badly anymore. Like it's something I want, obviously, but it's also I always look to that as something that would like helped me feel happier and more fulfilled. But then I realized, like, no, I just want somebody to enjoy stuff with. And it
Right.
doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be anybody.
Right.
So that
And you
is,
want to be happy and fulfilled before you do find that person.
Yeah.
So they're getting a complete.
the best version.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't. So I do think that all came from Austin, and I do think having that was always very helpful to me and something that was very big to me. And I think, well, he had a lot of friends who were more into a lot of the stuff he was, but I think he always looked at it the same way. Was when we saw something new we were both excited about coming out, like a video game or a new fantasy movie or something like that. When we went to the convention together, we both got to enjoy the board games and stuff together. So I do think that aspect was important on both of our. And I think a lot of that came from AJ being a huge nerd as well. I mean, he's way more extroverted version, but
He's very much
loved
extrovert, that's for
yeah.
sure.
he loved his sci-fi and all that stuff, and I
Mhm.
think that it imprinted on both of us a lot.
Well, I don't think those particular things are just
No, they're-
identifiable with just introverts.
No, they're not, but it's just typically like somebody playing D&D is more often probably going to be introverted.
It's been around so long.
But it's something I enjoy, and it's just like something that
That's something you dress up for.
well, I don't dress up. We go
But
drink.
some people do, right?
Yeah, you can. Well, we used to do it in the army. Well, I only did it a couple times in the army, but we would just go drink and play the game until somebody was too drunk to keep going, and then we would just all stop.
Good idea.
But it was always fun because you get to just hang out with your friends and be funny, and it's very improv-esque. You're just improving another character living as somebody else and get to make stuff up and just be fun. Like I was a elf and she was writing a book, and they started a fight with somebody they shouldn't have, and I was like, yeah, I'm not getting involved, and went and sat in the corner and just started writing. And then you just do stuff like that because you get to decide every little bit of thing you do. They're like, are you going to join the fight? I was like, no, I'm going to go sit in the corner and finish my book.
Okay. You physically went in the corner? And
No,
finished?
no,
Okay.
you do that as like your character does it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so it was nice, like Austin being there and having stuff to enjoy that with somebody with. That's Jordan used to come over in high school and watch anime with me. It was like something that we always enjoyed together was just talking about anime and watching anime together.
Tall Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
It was always so polite.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was something that was like.
Where is he?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Really?
But yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. I mean, I can't think of much that. It's hard for me to pinpoint, like, besides like the big things. Obviously, there was like a lot of smaller things that had to. It's weird that it was like 6th, 7th grade when my depression started because nothing significant happened at that time.
Yes.
What?
Hormones.
Well, yeah, but
There's something that happened right around being 12 for both of you. It's like y'all left one day and went to school, and somebody kidnapped y'all and sent me back little demons.
But it's because looking back, like it's crazy how much I slept in high school. Because I didn't just sleep at home; I slept in class, and then went home and slept. And then I would wake up and eat and sleep again. And I go to school and sleep all day.
Right now, that's what I was seeing. I mean, I don't know about school, but yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
I slept.
it's like I said, trying to get you to have something that you wanted, that you just couldn't live without. And it wasn't your phone, and it wasn't your computer.
Yeah,
It's something to search inside yourself and find out, well, what is it?
well, I think
that
of,
makes me get up and go and do.
I think making a, well, I don't know. I think helping other people feel good makes me feel good. So I think that's what I enjoy the most, is because
You should have been a hairstylist.
whenever I get a message that's like, thank you so much for that, or I really enjoy this, or you made a difference in my life, or whatever, that's something that always, that makes me feel fulfilled. It makes me feel like I've done something and I've made a difference, and I feel like that's something I always needed to do, was make a difference, make a change, because I feel like I'm, I don't know, if I feel like it would be a waste on who I am and like my intelligence and my passions and everything if I wasn't able to make a difference with them, maybe. It feels like it would just kind of,
Yeah, by helping them and giving to them.
yeah, but, and I don't, because I think a lot of stuff messed with me in elementary school and stuff. I think it was later on, well, like at the end of high school and stuff, I think it helped me, but being told early on, like how smart I was and how much I was capable of and all that stuff really messed with me, because then I always was going to feel like I was underachieving. And I don't think I could. I think I always felt like I needed to live up to these expectations that these teachers and stuff had for me. And I think it was, and later on in like junior or senior year of high school, when teachers would tell me that, it was actually like, it was relieving, because I knew I was not doing well, but they could still see it and they could still tell it was there. And it was like, I think then it was different as compared to like elementary school when I would hear it from people. Because it's a lot of pressure to be put on somebody to feel like you're supposed to be like this number one top student, straight A's, scholarship into a great school, make a difference in the world type person.
Every parent in the world has that dream for their child, and we do all we can when y'all are younger to just make those things come true. And
I remember, I think it was Mr. Benson said something like I was a math prodigy or something. Like, that's too much pressure to put on somebody in third grade.
but what did you do in the 6th grade, 7th grade?
When I got put into the advanced math class, yeah, but it's still, I know, but it's still a lot of pressure to put on somebody at that age, because no matter what I did, having came second in the award for the best math student in middle school twice in a row to two different people, it felt like I wasn't achieving kind of what they expected me to be able to achieve. When I'm told that I'm supposed to be this thing, I'm supposed to achieve so much. When you're like, they look on you to do that, it's a lot of pressure to live up to those expectations and a lot of fear of failing to live up to those expectations. And I've done a lot better.
And that's really a shame, because it should be. First of all, knowing somebody that it's not living up to this special, it's just they think you have the capability.
Yeah, but
and
it's
like
different.
The sky is the limit, kind of thing.
It's different when you're 7 years old and being told that, though. You don't see it the same way you see it now. Like now, when I'm told something like that, it doesn't. It goes to motivate me rather than hinder me. But when you're 7 years old and being told you're supposed to achieve all this, you feel a great weight of, or you're like, you're able to do this much, you're this capable or whatever, you feel the need to achieve those things, and you feel a lot of pressure to achieve those things at such a young age. It makes it very, there's a point where it flips to where it becomes more motivating, but at a younger age it's very, very heavy to be trying to live up to something, to something somebody thinks you can
That's
be.
true. I wouldn't expect that of somebody, because you figure like,
no, it always,
when I was 7 years old, doing a cartwheel and a backflip wouldn't think twice about it. Now I wouldn't think twice about it. It's like,
yeah. It got to the point where it's like, you would think if I wasn't getting 100 on something, I could feel like I'm like letting somebody, like I'm not doing as well as they thought I could do, and I'm failing, and I'm not achieving what they. Not quite that extent, but like I remember. Well, I put a lot of pressure on myself later on because I remember not passing advance on one SOL test, and I really like beat myself up over it. But then there's also other circumstances. My geography teacher, my freshman year of high school, he took me out of class after the SOL test, and he like pretended to yell at me and stuff. And he's scared the rest of the class because they knew I had the highest grades the whole year. And he walked back in. He was like, "Can you believe he got a question wrong? Because I only got one question wrong." But he made like a joke out of it rather than it felt less pressure. It was
Mm-hmm.
still more like, oh yeah, he thought I could get them all right, but it's also like a joke, like, hey, you still did really well, and that's crazy how well you did, or whatever. So there's a difference between that and like being told
There's
told
definitely.
at a young age that you can do great things, because then you're like trying. Then you feel like if you don't, and I don't even know if it still affects me or not. I don't feel like it affects me on the day to day, but I don't know if I ever feel like I'm underachieving or anything just because I haven't achieved what maybe some of them thought I
Well,
could.
I might have had something to do with that too, because I used to tell you in Austin,
Well, every parent says that's different. Every parent says that their kid can do anything.
but you don't.
I don't. I don't think that was pressure because I think
Well, it's kind
I
of harsh.
also
It's
know
kind of
you're.
like don't go in the street. Why? Because somebody can kill you.
Yeah.
Okay, depending on your age, that can be kind of harsh. And I told y'all, I gave you your best friend for life. It's like your parents going to die, your wife's going to leave you, but you're always going to have your brother, and y'all
Yeah.
will rule the world.
I don't think, especially because I know no matter what I do, you'll support my decision because you know that I'm going to make the best decision for me. So I don't think it ever felt like pressure because I know you always trusted me to do what was best. So I don't think I ever felt it from you. I just felt it from outside. And then there was times like I still remember in seventh grade I was taking a geometry SOL test, and they were like Christian geometry, and then somebody was like, Christian, I think you got the wrong person. He's not smart, and that always got to me. It was like, and I don't know if I just I don't even today it's like I want people to know, and I think it stems from that. I just want people to know that I'm actually intelligent, and it's like feels like a stressor on me for some reason, and I don't know if that was the first moment where it's like upset me enough to where it's like impacted me to this day, but it really like stuck with me to where I remember it.
Okay. Do you remember failing? What was it, seventh or eighth grade
It was seventh
English?
grade. I failed the class, but got a like perfect score on my test.
SOLs.
Yeah.
Yeah, why?
I couldn't pay attention in that class. I remember always sketching in there, but the teacher liked me a lot. So my English teachers, I think, for the most part, almost every year, were like Miss Cook and Miss Velarde. They were like two of my favorite teachers ever. Which were my eighth grade and my senior year English teachers. They didn't they understood somehow. They like saw me, and wouldn't they wouldn't push me too hard. They would still rib me and stuff. Miss Cook would almost always be like, "Oh, you're still not in AP English." Whenever I walk into her class, um, but they would like work with me and try to help instead of like um, just like expecting something out of me. They would like help me knowing that I was going through stuff and like I was struggling with stuff, and they were like, "You don't have to get an A in this class to prove to me that you're smart," type of thing. And I don't I feel like that helped me a lot and made me feel like I don't know, less pressure, I guess. So and it was for some reason it was almost always in English teachers.
Hmm.
In sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. The only time it wasn't was sophomore year, and was
I think English teachers are probably are a little bit more compassionate than your science and
Well, I had some
math
science teachers that
teachers.
were like that too. Senior year, I had Miss White. She was like that with me. She, when I was leaving her class, she's the last day. She said, she's like, yeah, you might have slept through a lot of class. You might have talked a lot, and you might have not not gotten as much out of this class as you could have. But I think if you want to, you can do whatever. Like you can go out there and do what you want to. Just find that whatever, and that always. And then my government teacher was talking like I didn't talk much in his class because I sleep through his class almost all the time, and he put that in my yearbook. But he also said he will never forget me because he always enjoyed when I did talk the conversations that we would have.
Oh, I understand that. I like
So that
talking to you
always
about
stuck with
history
me.
and government and
Yeah.
politics. So,
He's actually the reason I became passionate about it because that's when we had to take a test and I found out about all the different ideologies rather than the big two, and that's we had to take the test, and that's where I found out that I didn't fit on that spectrum, and I started to research it more and read into it more and become more passionate about it because I felt like for a while that's what I wanted to do, and I would still not shy away from doing it, but I felt like I could make a huge difference in people's lives by that way because I feel like that impacts. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, but that could impact the medical field. Yeah, I'm not a teacher, but I can impact teaching in schools and stuff. So I always felt like that was a way that I could help people with something I was passionate about.
about being a politician.
Well, I didn't want to be a politician. I
Oh.
wanted to basically do kind of this by educating people and getting and helping people learn about this stuff, but probably in an easier way because I know a lot of people they'll just get their news from all this stuff online or whatever their news channels, which are just
Whatever they
mostly
want
false.
to tell
Yeah.
you.
So I wanted to do something like that, but that's actually why I started this was because I wanted to transfer into that, but I loved this so much and working with people with mental health so much that I think that's because one time Dwayne told me when I was at one of my lowest points, he told me if I was to take my life that I wouldn't be able to help the people who are going through. And that's one of the things that led me to doing this was the fact that he said that to me. Was because he knew me well enough to know that something like that would keep me going.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I remember those phone calls. And
But that paired with a couple other streamers that I've talked to and stuff is what led me into doing this, and that's why it was like, oh, I can do something with mental health with it. And that's why I want to do the podcast is to keep doing that with mental health and stuff, and hope that this can become a thing as well as all the other stuff that I do online. So, I think. Is there anything else you want to mention about my mental health or things you've seen, or you can come back on in the future and we can talk about you and what you've been through because that's something I want to do too with
okay.
people. Um,
No, the one thing I have noticed the whole time is your strength and your determination and stubbornness to not want to give in to whatever was trying to consume you and take you over.
I think I don't know if I think I have been strong at times, but I think I have with how close I feel like I've come to giving up at times and how much I've thought about just not even in the taking my life kind of way give up, but and give up and just like not try anymore. I've thought about it a lot. I was like, what if I just never get out of bed again? Like, and not just like a passing thought, like legitimately sat there and was like,
I understand.
why should I leave the house? Why should I go this? Like, if I can survive, if I can get the food and water I need, why try anything? Why do anything? And I've had those thoughts, and there was a point when I was in the army where I was going to work, going home, having a couple drinks, and going to sleep, and there would be days in a row where I wouldn't eat and I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't really talk to people. I would uh, just do that constantly and just not going like legitimately not go anywhere else and just all the time, just constantly go home until one of my friends got me to come over and play a game with him, and then his kids started asking for me to come over, and then I started going over there a lot. But there was a long time where I was just that for months. I was just a constant routine of not, and that what, and my roommate wasn't living there at the time. She was living with somebody else, so she wasn't at the house. So it was just me constantly with no, and at times there was no human interaction because when I was out of, when I was, when I failed my language test, because I failed it once, because I passed the first one, then I failed a retake, and then because you have to take it every year, every, or not every year, but every few years. Was it every year? I don't remember, but when I retook it, I failed it, but then a couple months later, I passed it. But then there, I was already getting out medically, but there was a time in there I was doing self study during the day, so I would go home, be in a room by myself, or go to work, be in a room by myself, go home, be by myself. So it was just me alone all the time, which is kind of how
That's
things have been lately for me anyway, too. But I
it's
have
really
chats.
sad the fact that, again, with the society that we're in, of how many people are actually in that situation.
Yeah.
Some people don't even have to leave their homes because they work right here.
I mean, I don't leave, but
And
I
like you
have.
said, you can have everything. You can have all your foods delivered.
Mm.
You can have alcohol delivered to your house anymore.
Mm.
I mean, you don't have to leave your home.
Yeah.
And yeah, talking about
It's also like I can't. I don't. I when I go to stores, I get really bad anxiety. I can go like Food Line, but if I can't go in like a bigger grocery store or something without just because I see one person like forgetting that other people exist, standing sideways in an aisle, looking up at what they want or something, and it just sets off my anxiety because something about people not caring
well,
about
that's when you walk
other
over to
people.
them and go, what are you looking at?"
Even just
What,
driving though, it's something about people thinking like when you're driving, you can clearly tell somebody thinks where they're going is more important than everybody else, so they're like
that's
cutting to
not
the
where
last
they're
minute.
going. They think they are more important than everybody
But
else.
it just
And
it
so
always
many people do that.
it always yeah, but it stresses me out that I don't know that
It,
causes me a lot of anxiety.
it causes me a lot of anxiety myself when we're 55 miles an hour and people are going 30 miles an
Well, that's
hour.
not what I mean. I mean when people like will zoom and then cut in front of you at the last second, which causes more backups behind you because that's what the effect causes. So you're causing way more backups behind just so you can get ahead a couple seconds.
See, I can't stand the ones that want to just poke
No,
and drive
that's
like the Flintstones. It's
no,
like,
that's not people being selfish is when you're getting off an interstate exit and there's a long line and they skip in front of the line, which causes everybody to have to brake, and everybody that brakes, the person behind them has to brake a couple seconds longer. So you're causing a lot more traffic so you can save 2 seconds. That's what upsets me. It's like, why is where you're going so much more important that you're willing to cause somebody else to be minutes behind so you can be a couple seconds faster? That's what
or
irritates me.
even the slow drivers have the same thought in mind.
Mm.
Where they're going is just not as important. They don't need to go the 55. 30 is just fine.
I don't think it's quite the same as the people that are just
Either
causing.
way, I don't think they're caring about other people around them. And that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like the
But,
person in the grocery store.
but we'll but that's I want to go when I want to go out. It's not that stuff. Not going out and doing it. I don't think really affects me that much. Having class to go to or having I I don't. My last job, I liked the people I worked with. The job sucked. I liked going and talking to people, just chatting with people, and having a situation where I had like that interaction. I don't want that type of job, but I think there's other things that are capable of going out and just doing stuff. And just school's always been something that I've found it easy to meet people in.
Well, that's
So
good because you seem to
taking all
make
my
a career of getting an education.
I'm taking all my classes. I do want to get master's for it though, but yeah. So
And I've had anxieties in stores. I remember going and spending an hour or two picking out clothes, trying on clothes, and get ready to go. And I just would drop it all and walk and go home and go in my house and just sit with the door closed and be like, okay,
Yeah.
I can breathe now. And just
That's
Yeah.
something. And
sometimes I have a hard time myself, which I'm sure people go through that too. It's just like, yes, I can get up and go open the door and walk out of it. It's okay to get up and just go and take that step. You can do this.
but it's also like you have to have something to go. You want to go do. Like I want to hang out with people. I don't want to like. There's nothing specifically I want to go do though.
Well, that's, I guess, when you go for a walk or
But
something.
I walk anyway. That's not the same. Doesn't
No.
not giving me human interaction.
Well, it depends on where you walk.
I'm not going to talk to people out there, but
Go walk around Trader Joe's.
I'm not going in there. That's one of the stores that really like.
You're kidding. People are so sociable in Trader Joe's.
Yes, but there's so many like very like those type of people that just don't care about other people around them. There's a
I
lot
don't
of them
find
in
that
Trader Joe's.
there.
I do.
I
They're in
find it at
Costco.
Sam's Club.
They're in Costco are the worst places for me. Sam's isn't as bad as Costco somehow, but those two are like the worst. Like the most like I don't know. I feel
I
like
can
there's
go
so
into
many
Trader
people.
Joe's and people
It's
want. I mean,
so
people
many
want to
pe-
talk to you.
So many people shop at Trader Joe's that are the people that there's a lot of people that shop at Trader Joe's. They'll let you know that they shop at Trader Joe's, and those type of people are the type of people who are very like don't care about what's going on with you or what's
And
going
see,
on around
I get a completely different take on that because I can go into Trader Joe's and people will walk by like as you empty your cart out and say, "You want me to take that out for you?"
Well, that's not the
Or-
same as somebody just standing there or moseying, standing sideways with their cart, blocking people off, acting like nobody's around them.
I don't really get that either. Most of the time, once people realize it, it's like, what is? I was in the store the other day, and this woman's like, "I am so sorry. I think I'm acting like I'm the only one here," and and just you strike up a conversation with people like
No.
that.
I'm not going to strike up a conversation with people like that either, to be fair. So I'll just say like yes and walk away and go, okay, you're okay, something like that. I can't. That's not how my mind works. My first reaction, I would have to sit there for a minute and be like, oh, I can start it. I don't. I need a long enough time to
Try to make them feel better.
Or no. In a store, I would never be able to start a conversation because I would need enough time to sit there and convince myself, like, oh, I can start a conversation with this person. My reaction is always like, yes, okay, no, you're fine, I'm sorry, something like that, and then just keep moving. That's my reaction, and usually that's all you have to go on in an interaction like that. Nobody's gonna stick around long enough for me to like run all the thoughts through my head and then be like okay with it and comfortable finally to say something.
Yeah.
So I can't. That wouldn't work. I need a situation where I'm around the same people regularly, so where after a few weeks I'm like, oh hey, look.
Well, why don't you take the challenge?
What?
Take the challenge.
What challenge? No, I'm not. It's like my photography teacher. I try to explain like I can't just go out and take a picture of a random person. Be like, hey, can I take a picture of you at a random store? I can't. It's not that I will legitimately have a panic attack and have to turn like I can't. It's not
Okay.
that I don't want to. I literally do not have the capability of doing it because I will freak out too much to not be able to even get past the fact of whatever I'm going through to do so.
So, what do you think is the cure? Is not the right word.
Oh, it's fine. Like I said, if I'm around people long enough, eventually I become comfortable and then I'm good. So any situation where I'm just around the same people all the time, like a job or school or whatnot, that ends up helping. I don't know. For some reason, though, at AWA, I was at the convention. I was really good, and I was walking up to people and be like introducing them to other people rather. And I didn't even know who that person was, but you could clearly tell they want to be part of the group or whatever. I don't know why that situation made me so much more comfortable around. I don't know if it's just that everybody else also will understand what I'm going through because most of them are going through the same thing. It's so much easier to be like, oh, if I say something stupid, but like, man, I have to stop thinking about that. Then I'm like, yeah, I understand. Because that's how anxiety works. Like, you just say one thing stupid and then you're thinking about it all night. So the next day, you're like, man, I can't stop thinking about that same day. It's like, no, you're fine. I do the same thing if I say something like that. So, like,
There's
having,
actually people that work at those conventions. Like, oh, that's their job.
yeah, but I mean, but I don't know if, but I think this community has helped me a lot, and I have made a lot of friends on it. I just need to get better at reaching out to them and meeting people in person and stuff like that. I think that'll be a big difference. Because
Do
once
they
you,
come on and tell you about their anxieties and things?
yeah, we
And
talk about, yeah, I talk to a lot of friends. Nobody on Discord right now, but I talk to a lot of people about stuff and just reach out and like, hey, how you doing? Oh man, I was talking to this person and I was stressing out about it or whatever. Like we just talked about, man, I said something the other day and I can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, that person probably forgot that you said that,
mm-hmm.
which is obvious, but also something you need to hear. Yeah. So I think hopefully that'll lead to maybe me meeting people closer or maybe me leaving here and going to a place where I'm with people that I can enjoy stuff with and that understand me. Because that's also something that's huge because it's so hard to explain, to put certain things into words. So something else, somebody that you don't have to put the thing into words for, it makes it so much easier because then you don't have to try to think of 1,000 words that might be able to explain it. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there just really isn't a word; they just have to know, which is only, unfortunately, only other people who are also going through the same thing. But it also makes it easier to talk to them, makes you more comfortable around them.
True.
But yeah, like I said, we'll try to have you back on and we can talk about anything. If you think of something you forgot, if you listen to this back, we can always come back on and talk about that, or you can come back on and talk about yourself. I have some other people planning coming on. I have people from online that want to come on and talk about stuff,
Oh,
so
cool.
that's going to happen. But thank you for joining. I wanted to get this one out of the way first because obviously I felt like you would know the most about me, having known me
Birthed
the
you.
longest. Um, and I think your aspect and you see things differently than I do, and I think that can help see things that I went through differently than I do.
I think you had most of your trauma from not letting me have my scallops because you wanted to come into this world
Oh,
and I couldn't eat my dinner.
oh. I think, like I said, there's things I look back on that don't feel like they impact me that much, but I feel like like if I think about certain things, like I have such a fear of people leaving me and forgetting about me, and I think that has to stem from my dad, right? Like that nothing else would makes sense to
It
why.
was I told you about your dad what happened,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm saying that,
I mean, you were 5 weeks old and he threw you across the room on a couch.
but I'm saying that doesn't matter. I'm talking about why it affects me mentally.
But then he went out the door. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but I'm saying that has to be the reason that has to be at least one of the reasons why I have that fear, why that exists there.
I'm
Why,
sure.
what?
And like I said before, there's things that happen
Yeah,
at infantry.
yeah.
Does that right?
Infancy,
Infantry. Huh?
infantry's military.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. Um, what happened to you
Yeah.
that you don't remember, and as an adult, it's like he's not going to remember it. It still
Mm.
sets a tone. I
I,
mean,
I mean,
you're
I
still
still.
getting your nervous system and your all these things sorted in your little world, and
Sorry to keep it going so long, guys, but I have one more thing. I still remember the last time he visited was Austin's birthday, right? And I wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese, and AJ was there, and he got pissed that I wanted to go there, and I came back home, and he was already gone.
no,
That was that's how I remember it. So I know
you and
that had to have happened because it's
Austin and AJ was going to get with him and you, and y'all were going to go to Busch Gardens or something, I
I'm
think.
pretty sure we went to Chuck E. Cheese's. That's
or
what I
Water
remember.
Country. And AJ called and said he couldn't go, and so Chuck wasn't going to take you, and you were upset, started crying, and then he
I remember.
walked out the door.
I remember going somewhere with Austin. I think it was like around Austin's birthday or something. It was Austin and AJ, and he was mad that I was going. That I wanted to go somewhere and be with AJ rather than him. And I remember it. I don't know why I can still picture his suitcases in my head. So, and I remember I can picture him in the car dropping me off. Like I can see it in my head.
Who dropping you off?
My dad. I mean, I can still remember going to his mom's house and running around the yard with her dog. But
So all that must have happened before.
I'm pretty sure that happened.
No, wait a minute. Running around with his mom. Who? Chuck?
Mm-hmm. She lived over off of Old Harkersville, down the road there. Used to go see her a couple times.
I remember I took you there once.
Nope, I went there like 2 or 3 times with them. Because I remember really liking her dog, so every time I went over there, I would run around the yard with her dog and try to raise it.
I don't remember that.
Okay. I don't know how many times. I know it was at least more than once because I can remember specifically one time getting there and being excited to run around with the dog.
Do you remember what his mom looked like?
Yes.
What does she look like?
She was weirdly. She was overweight up top, but not like huge, and then her legs were really big. Way oversized for what the rest of her body looked like. Even though the rest of her body was still overweight. I just remember her legs being big.
Okay.
But
Well, were you done?
yeah, sorry for dragging on so long, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed finally having a guest on. You want to say anything?
Bye.
We'll try to have more on in the
What
future.
they look like in here.
We recorded this very early, so if things change between now and then, you know it's early. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of finally getting some more insight on me. Finally having somebody else on to talk to, so it's not just me talking to the camera. I know that can be a lot more enjoyable. But I'm not going to drag it on too much longer. I'm sorry. I love you all. And I hope to see you back here next time.
Bye.